The Cubs have had just an amazing hot stove season. It's been great. We've had stuff to talk about every day, including Kyle Tucker, who had his introductory press conference yesterday, being traded from the Astros, gives the Cubs a superstar player. The other guy that they hoped to be a superstar, Cody Bellinger, was sold to the Yankees. Yeah, it was pretty much a sale. Now we're looking at the roster and we're saying, what is the next thing? Well, they got catcher covered. That was a place where they needed to get some help. They got that superstar bat. Maybe they trade an outfielder. Who knows? But third base, that's wide open. Or is it? First round pick Matt Shaw is going to get that opportunity. That's what we're going to talk about on the show today. Can Matt Shaw take this job and run with it? And I feel like we've been talking about third base as an opportunity for the last couple years. I mean, when's the last time we had a third baseman? Oh, yeah, we traded for one and we just traded him away. Let's talk about that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, comment section. Love talking to you guys. Let's get this party started. Peace, everybody. Mick Gillespie. Welcome to the Cubs Baseball channel. For those of you that jumped on live yesterday when we were talking Cody Bellinger, thank you. Thank you for being here. Go Cubs. And appreciate all the comments that you guys leave on a daily basis and all the stories. And I got to tell you, I know I want to talk about Matt Shaw, but the stories that you guys are telling me about naming your kids after Ryan Sandberg are amazing. They really make my day. I spent a year with him. Love the guy. I was there when he met guys who were named after him. Some kids, some were, adults, but other Rhinos. And it's like he was telling me, he was like, man, I run in the Rhinos a lot. And he always just took time for those guys, realizing how special that was. And, he was named after a baseball player named Ryan. Yeah, Rhino. Yep. Yankee. His mom just liked him, liked the name. That's what he told me. All right, well, let's get to it. Third base is open now. Issac Parades didn't last long with the Cubs. Traded him at the deadline, and then they end up flipping him. This is a complicated deal to try to evaluate, and you really can't until you see what happens with Kyle Tucker. But Kyle Tucker says that he's open to a contract extension. Who knows if that'll happen or not, but I'll tell you what, it would be great for the Cubs if he's a fit to go ahead and get him locked in long-term. He's going to demand a pretty big contract, but the guy's a winner and he is a superstar player, and the Cubs needed a superstar player and they got one. So now what? Who's going to play third base? Well, Matt Shaw. Yeah, Matt Shaw. He's going to get the opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to win the job, but he's going to get the chance to play third base. I'll tell you this. I've seen him play third base. The position's not too big for him. Now, there's going to be scouts that are going to say maybe his arm isn't quite as strong as it needs to be for the third base spot, but he's a former shortstop, played some second base, but playing third base is what he's worked on because that's where the opportunity for him to get on the field really has been, is over at third base. So he's working at third base, playing on Team USA. They seem to really like him at third, which is good to hear too. When you talk about people like Mike Scioscia, who is one of the best instructors and just coaching baseball, forget about the managers. And those guys have raved about him playing third base. But we've seen it. The Cubs have been working on him at third base for a long time. Played shortstop at Maryland, played second base, played some third there too, then was drafted a few years ago by the Cubs in the first round and saw a lot of action at third base. We saw him at third base some during spring training. Cubs want to get his bat in the lineup. They want that production. They want him to get in there and drive in runs. They want him to be able to produce. And when you look at where they are right now in this organization, one of the biggest assets that they have is the fact that they have all of these prospects. Now, I'm telling you right now, something's going to happen with some of these outfielders. They just have too many of them. They're going to end up making some moves. it's just going to happen. And I'm curious to see, is it going to be someone that's top end like Owen Casey? And I mean, top end to me is someone that I think he's going to be a really good big leaguer one day. But you'll get a lot more back, but you take a big risk. Is it somebody that, that's good, but has a ways to go before I think that they'd be a superstar player like a Kevin Alcantara? Or would it be, Alexander Canario, who would be a good fit for a team like the Marlins, somebody that's out of options? You're going to have to figure out a place for the guy to play, or he's going to go anyway. So that's what we're looking at right now. With that said, Matt Shaw is a really, really good baseball player. He's like a baseball's player, a baseball player's player. I got it out. Meaning that, he just understands the game. Like, I always felt like Christopher Morel lacked the understanding of playing the game. He had the physical tools, but, mentally it just felt like when he was growing up, he probably didn't play a lot of baseball. In the Dominican, they do a lot of the skills stuff. You see, when you get guys from Venezuela, they're more equipped for the games because they play a lot more games. And sometimes it's hard to, kind of adjust to that. And I see it with American players too. My point is that there's just some people that have the aptitude for the game. And that's what Matt Shaw is. I mean, he just has this ability to kind of comprehend what's going on and get things done fast. He's not very tall. I mean, it's not like he's like, I think 5'10", but for his size, he hits for a lot of power. I've talked about this before. The reason that I think he's going to be a successful big leaguer is that he's going to get on base a lot. He's got a great eye. He kind of resembles Ian Happ in that area, where he's coming in with a strike zone discipline that should get better when he gets into the major leagues. And over the last couple of years, since he was drafted, and then last year, I mean, this is the most baseball that the guy's ever played. And you could tell that he was kind of, this, and then all of a sudden this, So he's starting to get that part of it down too, the toughness that you have to have as an everyday big leaguer. Now, the other issue that I worry about for him and all of these guys that are coming out of AAA and going to the big leagues is that they push these guys up so fast now that you don't play a lot of games in the minor leagues. And when you get from AAA to the big leagues, it's a huge jump. And specifically for position players, it really feels like it takes those guys a long time to get themselves in position to not be overwhelmed by it. We saw it with Pete Crow Armstrong, with a lot of these guys. Like, but look, Rhino had a tough start, so it was like that back then too. It just feels like right now that the jump from AAA to the big leagues is really big, and that for these players, it's one of those things where trying to figure out how they're going to make that adjustment and how quickly they can do it is what's going to keep them there or not. So if it's not him, who are the other players that the Cubs have for third base? And that's a question that I'm sure we're going to ask ourselves, or they'll probably go out and sign some guys to play. We saw that last year at first base, where they signed a bunch of first basemen, and Michael Busch ended up winning the job. And they said, hey, look, he's playing first base. He's not going to slide over to third. He played some third with the Dodgers because they had Freddie Freeman, but he's a first baseman, and the Cubs feel like that's where he's going to be. So Shaw's going to get a really good look for this spot. What he does with it is up to him, right? Still kind of reverberating the trade Cody Bellinger to the Yankees, or the sale of Cody Bellinger to the Yankees. Cost the Cubs $5 million, $2.5 million over the next 2 years. That to me is, it's a tough pill to swallow when you're trading a former MVP and a comeback player of the year. But that's kind of what the Cubs had to do, because there just wasn't a market for Cody Bellinger at $27.5 million. So they got a pitcher back that spent most of his career in the minor leagues, but has had some success in the big leagues in small spurts. We'll see how that plays out, moving forward. Sometimes, these guys are good and they're just playing with a team that is in a big market and they're not getting opportunities, because there's so many guys signed. I don't know if that's the case with Poteet, but that's who the Cubs got back in that deal. So a lot of you feel like it wasn't a great trade, but it was more of a sale. And that's it. So we'll keep an eye on it. There's going to be, I think, some more stuff happening here now that the Cubs have Cody Bellinger out of the way. They have some more money to work with under the cap. You know that they're going to try and find some more pitching. And it just feels like they know for them to really be a serious contender that they have to have that ace at the top of the rotation. And if they could get someone that could go to the top of the rotation and push everyone back, all of a sudden you start looking at this team and you're like, hey, if Justin Steele's your number 2 and Shota Imanaga's your number 3 and Jamison Tynes your number 4, right? And then all of a sudden you're feeling a lot better about where things are. And so if the Cubs, I think that I wouldn't be surprised. I'll put it like this. If the Cubs don't trade some of those young starters that they had last year, maybe a Javi Assad, maybe a Jordan Wicks in a deal to get an ace, because they're going to have to trade pitching to get pitching. That's the way it works. So we'll see how that all shapes out. But that to me is the next thing to keep an eye on. But Matt Shaw looks like he's got a really good shot to make this big league team if he can go out there and prove himself. And the fact that they invested a first-round pick in him makes it for them an easy call if he can go handle the job. All right, thanks for hanging out on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. We'll talk to you guys all again tomorrow, and thank you for being part of what we do here. It's been exciting as a Cubs fan. I mean, whether this works or not, I love the fact that Jed Hoyer's put his pedal to the, the pedal to the metal, and he's trying to get it done. Go Cubs.